It's so late and I cannot sleep. Monsieur, qu'est-ce que tu veux boire? Une limonade, s'il vous plaît. For me, there's a way of looking at 2020 as a time where I've never been more free. Lockdown has meant I've had very few fixed in-person appointments. I could finish working whenever I want. I could get up whenever I want. In actuality, I could finish work quite late. I could read this collection of short stories. I'm almost finished and it's really good. I could stay up anxiously thinking about the future of a career in the performing arts. I could get trapped in a tight-chested, short-breath cortisol spiral. I could fall asleep at 4 a.m, wake up at 7:30 and then decide to skip kettlebells. I could do it all. Let's do this. Everything feels less anxious when I'm up and dressed, and when I am, I like to come to this place. It's a lock by the canal near my house. I come to write. I try to give myself an hour of free writing every day. In this time, I allow myself as much freedom as possible. Sometimes I write poems, or ideas for poems, or fears, or prayers, or goals for the next year. Wordsworth said, "Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings." YouTube ideas, ASMR poetry, Spider-Man push-ups, Venn diagram, rose fish, beans mean time, mixture, East London, mixture is contextual. Craft beer is not a person, but the park stabbing might be.
Wordsworth was wrong.
Instead, I prefer Robert Frost's take, who said, "Writing free verse is like playing tennis without a net." What do you think about all this, early career Jamie Lannister?
I have a new theory of our life in tennis. Oh, it's simple, really. You hit the ball back over the net as hard and as deep and as often as possible.
The Kingslayer is right. The Goldilocks principle applies to tennis. Hit the ball too low, it hits the net, you lose the point. However, hit the ball too far, it goes out of bounds, you lose the point. You want to hit the ball just right, just far enough, just in. That's how you win. So with no net, there's no tennis. The drama of the game is seeing the skill and creativity players have in trying to outwit their opponents within that limitation. That restriction, allowing them to pull off shots like this. So good. Green screen. I think poetry is a bit like this too. After a session writing at the lock, I normally have pages and pages of spontaneous overflow, but I don't have a poem. Yet. Often the writing just needs a backbone, or a structure, or a way of organising itself. This could be a repeated phrase, or a one word per line only, strictly non-matching letters acrostic poem. Sometimes the rules are silly.
The poem about limes is called Simile, and just like Robert Frost's net, it has strict rules. Every line in the poem is an anagram of the phrase lime is, until it kind of shifts and changes. You'll see.
Lime is, simile, C, lime is, simile, plus I simile, silly me, I simile, now silently, with one less I smile, like a zesty green cyclops, posing as a metaphor.
The lime itself is a great example of flourishing within structure. A lime is comprised of two elements, the skin and the flesh. The skin by itself is just a tough, inedible casing, but the flesh without the skin would rot and ferment. The skin needs the flesh to give it purpose, and the skin frames and protects the flesh, helping it ripen and flourish. So, poetic structure, tennis nets, limes, what do they all have in common? They're all about imposing constraints to actually allow for more freedom. So why talk about all this? Well, as I said earlier in the video, I can't sleep very well. I think maybe I need my equivalent of poetic structure for sleep. I need to impose some constraints to give me the freedom to sleep 8 hours a night. You might be able to sleep and that might not be your problem, but maybe you have other things in your life. Areas where you have boundless freedom and yet you don't do the thing you want to do. Maybe it's creating something, maybe it's improving your life in some way. If we can put some rules there, some little poetic structures, some limes to encase our little soft, beautiful, sweet flesh, maybe we can make something beautiful. Cue overly neat Zach Braff style wrap up.
I think owning your burdens is half the battle. The Turk knows that he'll eventually have to decide what his priorities really are.
Baby, come to bed.
And Dr. Cox knows he has to find something else to hang his hat on.
You, my friend, are going to be the best baseball player in the world, which will make me the best baseball player in the world's father. Can't you hear it, Jack? Can't you hear it?
Still, it's not that daunting if you look around and see what other people have to deal with.
Good night, Dr. Casey.
Good night, Jimmy.
Sing out, yeah, and everything's not lost.